everyone. So today I wanted to do a fun St. Patrick's Day painting with you guys, a little watercolor, a little drawing in watercolor. I thought it would be fun to do shamrocks. So I have a card here. It's just a watercolor piece of paper, which is about 5 by 7 that I've folded in half. So this is probably actually about, I don't know, 4 by 5. So maybe it's a little bit bigger. Maybe this is half of the 8 by 10 or 8.5 by 11. So I'm going to make a little card. I'm going to draw on the front with you guys. And my supplies today are very simple. I'm going to use my black pens. I have a couple of them, but knowing me, I'm just going to probably stay with my 05. Maybe I'll use others. I'm going to have my white pen handy in case I want to add some accents at the end. Then I have my water brush, and I have my very messy watercolor set. So I'll be using that after I draw. So let's get started. This will be a super fun, really fast card that you can make for your friends, your family, your loved ones, or any reason. So shamrocks, my mom has a tradition of giving us a pot of shamrocks every year, and I just love it. So the shamrock shape is very simple. It's kind of like a heart, and there's typically 4 of them on the plant. But as you know, they kind of fold downwards, so we don't always see straight on the 4 leaves like sometimes you might see it. We're kind of looking at the plant at a at a sort of side angle. So there's 2. This is, they got these nice big leaves. Here's a big leaf on the side and another big leaf on the side. Leaf, petal, I guess. Those are a little more straightforward. Here's kind of, they sort of float, which makes them so pretty. Let's do another one here. So again, I'm doing sort of a heart-like shape. So that's sort of straight out to us. This has to go behind that one. And then maybe this one droops down a little. Let's get one here. So this is a downward shaped one. And my lines are very loose. So here's a bunch that are sort of in this big array. Let's do one more here. So here's the downward leaf. Here's a leaf sort of on its side. Another leaf kind of on its side. Now, if you didn't know, shamrocks do flower. So these kind of poke out and come up a little bit higher. So I'm just going to pretend one comes up higher. And they are very simple little flowers. I think they have, I might get this wrong, but I'm going to say they have about 6 petals to them. So let's do one here like it's poking out. And we'll do another one that comes up here. So there's some, so this seems very messy and it's hard to figure out what's going on, but actually that's sort of what a shamrock flower plant feels like. So now let's get that pot in here. We're just going to do a nice simple pot. Has a little bit of a thickness to it. And let's get a couple layers in the background, but also let's pull some of these stems down because shamrocks are very grass-like. Meaning they have just really thin stems. And now let's do a couple more leaves coming out just to add interest. One here sort of in the background. And then we'll put the back of the pot with our dirt. And that is all I'm going to do for my very simple shamrocks. So now let's add some color to it. I'll come over here and show you my palette. So I am going to have my greens and my yellow, and then I might want obviously a little bit of the browns and grays for the stems. So for the greens, the shamrocks, I've got my really vibrant green, got a little bit more of my blue green where it gets darker so I can have some variance. And then I do want to get this yellow going up here on my palette because that's sort of that brighter color. And then I am going to add just a little bit of the more olivey green. So I have a variety of my greens so it looks interesting. And then I know this is just habit. As you can see, I have my palette's really dirty, but I typically have my kind of browns going on down here. And the key is that I can water them down to make them as light as I want. So let's get painting. So I'm going to just be nice and loose and free. And I'm going to start with sort of that vibrant green. And I'm just going to push it all over here in these leaves, and I'll start to add some variance. I'm just using all that same sort of bright green right now. Now, as you remember, like say there's leaves behind here that aren't really showing. So now I really want the looseness. Now I'm going to add just a tiny bit more of the depth. So we got the darker green in the middle of coming out. We got the darker greens kind of behind. Darker greens in the shadows. Just give it a little depth. And now let's get some of that lighter greens in there, where I'm just sort of playing on the looseness, getting some of those white spots. Sort of like the sun's hitting it a little. Maybe there's a little bit of, I want to have, a little looseness, so I'm going outside the lines here for a reason. The flowers are white, so we are not going to paint there, but we're going to paint a little green around them where the stem is and in the center. And then the stems are definitely kind of a yellowy beige, so I'm just going to come here with that ochre beige brown. Get some of these stems going. Trying to stay really loose on my pen tip, meaning keeping it nice and upright so that I can get a stem and not And now let's get some stem, not some thick trunk, because these are just really, you know, grass-like. Let's get some beige, sorry, brown, meant for the dirt. And obviously at the back of the, I want to get some depth, so at the back of this pot is going to be a little darker than the front. And cleaning off my brush, I think I noticed a little bit of missing here in that middle of that flower. Another way to help a flower, a white flower, is to give it a little bit of gray, maybe so that it has like a shadow on it. And now let's think about the pot. So I could go with any sort of color. I think I want to kind of go with a terracotta pot. So for terracotta, I'm going to have this brown here. And then I'm going to add a little bit of this ochre color. That is sort of nice. So I kind of like the earthiness. So now I'm going to just paint that, getting it all wet. A little more of that brown. Spread it all around. There's that richness. And let's add a little bit of depth under the bottom. And maybe this side and definitely the back. I like it. I like how I want it to have sort of a watercolory. I'm gonna add a little bit of watermarks here so it bleeds a little bit. And I'm trying to decide if I want to add a ground or not. I think a little bit will help it feel a little more rich. So I'm just going to simply go into my gray. I'm going to get it nice and wet because I don't want it too bright. And I'm just going to add some right along the edge. I actually like how the pot kind of bleeds into it. And maybe there's just a hint of green down there. Kind of like it's just reflecting a little bit of the plant. I love how that looks. It kind of gives it that planting down on the table. So my last little bit, I'm going to add just a little more definition to some of my very, very loose Shamrocks. So I'm going to actually add something I don't really do this often, but some sort of lines. Just to add sort of a difference. And given watercolor, the nice thing is I can loosen these lines up if I feel they're a little too harsh. Like this one feels a little too harsh, so I'm just gonna take my brush, and it's all clean, and I'm gonna add water to it, and I'm gonna loosen up that line. So now it feels a little less like a line and a little more like definition. Back here, it seems like it's getting really muddled, so I think I'm actually gonna go really dark in here. Like there's definitely some leaves back there. And that'll help make some of my leaves in the front pop out more. Now we have to soften that a little so it doesn't feel so forced of a shadow. I definitely think it helps give it a little more definition, that there's some stuff going back on the back. And helps these guys pop up a little more. And let's do a little bit of that definition again with our yellow. So I'm coming in with that bright yellow and I'm sort of accenting some of the top leaves. Like they're getting hit with sun. I think I'm happy with that. Okay, so there's my shamrocks, and I'm gonna let it dry a minute, and then I'm gonna come back and we'll add a little sentiment in the inside of the card. Okay, I'm back and I'm gonna add a little sentiment into the center of my card. So here's my shamrocks, my pot of shamrocks. So I am using a brush pen, and I also have my 05 handy, and I'm gonna have my 08 handy if I need to add some more. But I am gonna write, I am so lucky. So, and I'm gonna just do it in a fun, you know, script, kind of going this way. I am so lucky. Okay, so I like that, but I have to clean it up a bit. I'm going to add a little thickness to the thick and thin. A little definition to my letters that I didn't really get when I was just doing the brush strokes. So some, as you can see, adding little tops, adding little swirls, adding a little thickness so it adds some interest. I am so. I'll make this even a little fatter. I encourage you to just write with your handwriting. It's personal, it's your hand, it's how you write. And no matter how messy it is or legible, it just adds that individual personal touch. So these aren't perfect hand letters, but I think they're actually very nice. So I wanted to just say, I am so lucky. And then here's where this card could just go into a million different ways. You could say, I am so lucky that you're my friend, to have you as a mother, to be married to you, to be in love with you. I'm so lucky. We're related. You could just go on forever about the reasons why you're so lucky and why you might send this to someone that you care about. I'm so lucky to be able to talk with you. I'm so lucky you're in my life. So I want to leave it at I am so lucky so that you can add why you're so lucky and why you would send it to someone versus telling you. And the only other thing I thought would be fun to do is obviously add a shamrock or two in here. So we'll do these a little more individual shamrocks. And of course, we'll put a 4-leaf clover, because if you're really lucky, then you're going to definitely have a 4-leaf clover. So and then I'll put a 3-leafed here because that's the more common one. So I am so lucky to have you in my life. And as you may or may not know, sometimes 2s aren't that good. It's nice to have a 3rd, so I'm going to put another one up here, a little smaller one. And maybe we'll make it super lucky by having another 4-leaf clover. So I like the 3. It just adds a little more balance. And then I'm going to add just a little bit of green to those. So let's go to our vibrant green, our kind of grass green. And you can't get too precious with these in here if the outside is nice and loose, because then it'll look like you painted them on different days or different styles. So if you had a loose touch on the outside, then kind of keep that here. And if you had a more precise touch, then mimic that here. And I'm going to add my darker green in the center of these. Maybe a little bit of the overlap or the lines like I was doing. And then I need to kind of balance also with that lighter green that I had going on in the outside. And then I had that very light beige. It's actually, ironically, it's sort of the stem is sort of a green beige. And it's okay if it kind of goes outside the line or beyond the stem. So I am so lucky. So I will let you fill in the rest, but there's my card. Here's my shamrock, and I am so lucky. Could be even I'm so lucky to have you as a gardener, or to have you come to dinner. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson. This was super fun, and I hope you have a wonderful St. Patrick's Day. I'm so lucky that you're in my life and get to draw with me. Thank you.